Hello, welcome to another Yesshift episode. Well, this time it's another Steven's Venue Adventures type episode. And yeah, Dad will be back. We'll be doing our year in review show in the near future. We're working out the details on that. But yeah, this past Saturday I went to a metal concert, which I initially thought was just gonna have one band, Zeal and Ardor, but turns out it had a couple opening acts, and it was a lot of fun. So this was a concert I was invited to by my friend Aquila, and it wasn't until we were like on the way there that I was told, oh, there's a couple opening acts, and so I was basically discovering these acts as they were playing. The opening acts being Zetra and Gaerea, and they're both metal, maybe different subgenres of metal. You know, I've heard gothic metal tossed around between them, a bit of synth for Zetra, and Zeal Ardor is metal as well, but have they mix some stuff, like they mix in some African spirituals, such as in the song "The Devil Is Fine" is one that comes to mind. But yeah, in the days leading up to this, this concert took place at the Observatory in Santa Ana, and so I listened to most of Zeal and Ardor's discography in preparation for this. I was trying to listen to all their stuff, but I was able to listen to most of their albums. They only have four studio albums, an EP, and a live album, from what I understand. Um, and I don't say only as if to minimize that. Oh, it's only this amount. Like that. That's a good amount. They've been active since 2016, I believe. And so have I read that Gaerea have also been active since that year, and Zetra has been active since 2018. So this was an interesting mix of metal bands here. So we arrived at the Observatory in Santa Ana, and I guess there were two concerts going on. Like, a concert was going on one side of the venue, and another was happening on the other side. So, like, the other one featured a group called Sixpence, which I'm not familiar with, but it does kind of remind me of the first concert I went to this year. Was a prog metal concert featuring Earthside and Caligula's Horse. And I remember at that venue that I went to for that, there was also another concert going on, like on the other side or other level of the venue where I saw that. So, yeah, kind of interesting bookending the year with these concerts. I'm very curious to see which concerts I'll be able to go to this coming year. But yeah, we got there shortly before doors opened, and we went to the merge, and Akila got a cool Zeal and Ardor sweater. The vinyls looked really cool. I didn't get anything because I don't know. Like, whenever I go to a concert, I feel like something has to have a strong calling to me in order for me to buy it right then and there. I really don't know how to describe it. Like, I enjoyed the Zeal and Ardor music for sure. There are instrumentals and songs with lyrics that I think are really cool. The instrumentals that come to mind, like Hermit and Immersion, like really cool stuff. I remember there's one instrumental from one of their albums that also kind of sounds like a video game. But yeah, if I remember correctly, at this concert, Zeal and Ardor did not play instrumentals. I'm gonna read the set list later, but I could be totally wrong. But in my head, like remembering back, like the other day, it feels to me like they were all songs with lyrics. I see on Facebook, Janet Glennie is tuning in, saying tuning in from Michigan. So, hey, thanks for tuning in to this little review episode for this concert that I went to. So we stood in the sort of in the back area. Like there's a pit area in front of the stage at the observatory, but we didn't want to get in the middle of, like moshing and whatever could happen. So there's like a little wall semicircle thing around the pit, and we were kind of behind that, like the outer ring of this thing. And yeah, so we were standing the whole time, basically. Well, sitting once in a while when take a break between each set. But yeah, I guess I was kind of primed for this. There were a couple other concerts I've been to where I had to stand the whole time. But the first act was Zetra. They were in this, I guess, gothic looking makeup, and they're a duo, and they had a really strong set. So I'm going to read their set list real quick. I have in one of these tabs I have open. I was trying to figure out the songs of each set list at the concert, and sometimes it was tough to make out the lyrics because, I don't know, something about the way that the sound was coming out. It was hard for me to understand some of the lyrics, especially during the what's it called, the Gaerea portion of the second set. But I did sort of use, like, I looked at Setlist FM and looked at set lists of prior shows for reference, and it was basically confirming whether some of the same songs are played. For Zeal Ardor, it was for sure like the same set list, from what I could tell. Gaerea, I think, was also the same, and Zetra kind of changed their order from a previous show, but I think was mostly the same selections. So Zetra's set list included Sacrifice, The Angel Cries, Starfall, Shatter the Mountain, Sacred Song, The Mirror, Suffer Eternally, and Call of the Void. And I think my favorite of that set was Sacred Song. I saw that was used to close one of the previous recent shows, so I almost kind of think maybe I would have preferred that as a closer, but I think Call of the Void was still pretty strong. But yeah, Sacred Song, it's heavy but sounds really beautiful the way that they sing it. And I listened to a bit of the studio album version, and it's a different experience seeing it in concert and hearing it on the studio album. So I definitely want to do a deeper dive on Zetra's discography. So yeah, again, these opening acts, really great way to discover new bands and such. So after the Zetra set was the and I have pictures I'll show later, so we'll go through in a row. I see that this tour is called the Autumn Winter 2024 show. Sorry, it was in Roman numerals and it took me a moment. But yeah, then there was Gaerea, and this group, I think there's about 5 of them, if I remember correctly. They were dressed in all black, but also wore these masks that concealed their faces. They looked kind of like these, it would be kind of a disservice to describe them as sacks, but they had these like designs on them, so I guess I'd call them masks. So I don't know what their faces look like, and again, it was kind of tough for me to decipher most of the lyrics that they were singing, but they were really into it, really, with the physicality and the showmanship, and standing at the front of the stage, or even in front of the stage, if I remember correctly, and sort of singing to the audience. So their set list included The Poet's Ballet, Hope Shatters, Unknown, World Ablaze, Wilted Flower, and Loud. And yeah, I want to check out their studio stuff and see if it's maybe a little easier to hear the lyrics. Maybe if I had if I were super familiar with their discography beforehand, maybe it would have been easier to make out what was being sung. Because if you know a song, then you know how it sounds, and therefore you can know the lyrics to it. Like, we've all had that experience, you know. Then there was Zeal and Ardor, and their set list included 20 songs, and they're each a few minutes long. They represented about a third of their most recent album, which is titled Grief. So they played 5 songs from Grief, and Grief has 14 tracks. But altogether, the 5 songs make up 14 minutes from that 42-minute album, so it's about a third of the album. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good representation of the new album there. You know, they also had to include stuff from their previous works, and yeah, so I think this was a pretty good balance that they had here. So they started with The Bird, The Lion, and The Wildkin, which is from the new album. Then Wake of a Nation, and they of course have an EP of the same name. Then Gaerea Damerung, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Ship on Fire, Erase, that's one that stood out to me. Gravedigger's Chant, Kilonova, Blood in the River, Run, which I think is one that Aquila was really hoping that they would play, and so really happy with that. And then this next one that they played, it was Tuskegee, and Manuel, I looked up the pronunciation of this just beforehand. Manuel Gunyu, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, Manuel Gunyu, that's how it is. Introduced the song saying, this is a song about genocide. And yeah, if you know the history of the Tuskegee experiment and how there's, you know, the stuff that happened there had racism tied to it, you know, you can look into it, but yeah, it's a pretty disturbing thing, like the stuff that went on there. But yeah, I played that song, Tuskegee, and then Golden Lyre, Sugarcoat, Death to the Holy, To My Ilk, Feed the Machine, and Devil is Fine. And then they did this thing where Manuel was saying, normally bands will like pretend to go off stage and they come back for the encore, so can we just skip that? And everyone was like, yeah. So I really appreciate that, because every band at a concert will pretend they're leaving, and it's like they want the audience to shout encore, encore, or clap really loudly to indicate that they want them to come back and play the encore. And like, we know they're gonna play the encore, so it's inevitable. So I really appreciated that they were sort of poking fun at that. And so before these encore songs, Manuel was drinking something from a can. I think it might have been sparkling water, like LaCroix or something, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I do remember seeing LaCroix there at the venue. But the audience is like, chug, 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 and then he just like rolled with it and tried chugging it. So that was fun. And then we have the 4 encore songs: Trust No One, Built on Ashes, I Caught You, and Clawing Out. And I gotta say, Built on Ashes, you know, as I was going through the Zeal and Ardor material ahead of time, was one that really stood out to me, and it certainly stood out to me here as well. You know, it's very existential and ties into that fear of dying alone. So yeah, I was just really thinking deeply about that one as it was playing. Yeah, and I mean, music, it's supposed to well, I guess music is on a spectrum. It can be fun, but it can also make you think, and there's also like crossover in between. So yeah, I do appreciate that that song was in the set list, because you know, I don't know, it's just really deep to me. That feels like a simplistic way to say it, but you know what I mean. Like, it just reaches in, you know. So yeah, like I said, the concert, because of where we were standing, it wasn't too loud, but as we were leaving the venue, like when we got outside, it was kind of noticeable to me how I my ears, they weren't like destroyed or whatever, but there was this minor thing going on where it made me super aware that it had been loud like just before. But yeah, it's probably a good thing we weren't too close to the stage because maybe it would have been too loud. That was kind of like something talked about ahead of time. I was like, yeah, at this prog metal concert earlier this year, I was in the back and for some of it, and it was fine. So yeah, it worked out real well. And like I said, I do kind of wish that for some of the songs I could understand the words better. I think for Zeal and Ardor, I was able to hear them the words the best. Maybe part of that was listening to their material ahead of time. And Zetra, I could understand some of their words. And like I said, Gaerea, it was tougher for me. And I don't know if maybe the masks might have contributed to that. Maybe it could have hindered that a little, but it could just be me. It could be a mix of things. But this concert does make me want to dig into these discographies more. And, that's what concerts are for. They can be the culmination of having listened to discographies, or they can be an introduction encouraging you to dive into discographies. So, I don't know. I just really love that about concerts. So, yeah, I'm gonna dig in when I can. And yeah, we really enjoyed this concert. It's a cool Saturday night concert. Bunch of people there. I think one of the people, and like one of the people there had brought their child and had the child on their shoulders, and the child was wearing headphones. So it was, yeah, really unexpected. But at least they had headphones. So yeah, it was kind of odd though, like unexpected, I guess I should say. But yeah, so that's my final concert of this year, and like I was saying to Akila, I don't really have a good grasp of like which concerts are coming to my area this coming year. So that's something I'm gonna have to look into and see like when's the soonest I'll be able to go to a concert again, because I've been sharing news about tour dates and stuff, but some of those are on the East Coast. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's it for this episode of Steven's Venue Adventures. Well, it's less than 20 minutes. Sometimes I worry I don't give these things enough justice when I talk about them, but I guess it's also me talking about it on my own, so there's that. But yeah, like I said, Dad and I will do our year interview thing in the near future. Like this year and yes type thing. And I also saw that Dave Kersner's album, he's still finalizing the mixes, so I guess we'll have to see whenever that's finished and when we can listen to that. But yeah, that's it for now. You can follow Yesshift, basically at Yesshift on Facebook and YouTube. You can type Yesshift into a podcast app, you'll probably find us. You can write to us via yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, looking forward to what's coming up as we close out the year and then whatever happens in the new year. So thanks for tuning in and see you all soon. Okay, so I totally forgot and will do now, but forgot to screen share the photos that I took at the Observatory concert. So maybe I'll stitch these two things together after the fact. But let me just open this window and then share my screen. And these photos might be out of order, but I'll cycle through all of them. Let's see, share screen, window. Okay, so it would be this one. Alright, let me see how this looks. So I think this will be toward the end of the Zeal and Ardor concert. Let me just make sure it's displaying how I want it to. Oh well, that's too zoomed out. let's see, how does that look? Okay, so I'll cycle through them like that. So, like I said, these will be out of order, but there's one pick. There's another one of Zeal Ardor. This one, yeah, there's a glaring red light at one point, so it didn't look very good. Get another one in blue. Yeah, and I tried to get some good shots, but it was kind of tough because of where we were standing. But yeah, there were people with cell phones there. Yeah, it was a pretty chill, casual atmosphere, this concert. And yeah, I really liked the lighting here. So even if these aren't super pristine, oh, this one actually doesn't look too bad. Yeah, that looks a bit clearer. Well, I kind of like the streaks of the lights there up above. Even if these aren't super pristine, I quite like how they still convey the atmosphere. And yeah, this is them at the end of their set. Like conveying the overall vibe of the concert. This pick is from the Zetra set. They got that background there, and like I said, they're a duo. Let's see. Oh, there's one. I think this is when there's like a smoke machine. That might have been during the Zetra set. Oh, that was kind of cool how it changed from blue to pink right there. I think this one was. I think this is during the Gaerea set. The drummers at this show were really fantastic. There's a drum set there. Yeah, it's so funny, like all those cell phones and stuff. There's Zeal Ardor again. And I think we're almost done here. But yeah, I think I took like over 40 photos at this thing. And these are from my cell phone. I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah, that's all of them. So yeah, I got a bit of visual mementos of this concert, Zetra, Gaerea, and Zeal and Ardor. So really happy to have all that. Glad to have attended this. We enjoyed the show, and I definitely recommend checking out each of these bands. Even if you're not like a metalhead, metal isn't a genre that I typically seek out, but I was really impressed, and I feel like over these last few years I've been broadening my horizons genre wise. So yeah, but that's it for now. Like I said, follow us at Yesshift, pretty much wherever we're available, and we'll see you all soon in the near future.